Every Wall Street analyst promised streaming would be profitable. Every venture capitalist swore the subscription model was bulletproof. And every single time, they missed the hidden financial collapse waiting underneath. Blockbuster believed their billion-dollar empire was untouchable. Kodak thought their dominance meant eternal profits. Nokia assumed market leadership guaranteed survival. All of them had the numbers. All of them had the analysts backing them up. Netflix is walking the exact same path these giants took before they crumbled. But here's what makes this different. Netflix isn't just another tech company bleeding cash. They're burning through $17 billion annually on content while competitors circle like sharks. The streaming model that made them worth $200 billion might be the exact mechanism that destroys them. The question isn't whether you should invest in streaming companies. The question is, can you spot the pattern before your portfolio gets caught in the collapse? Let's start with 2000. Netflix showed up at Blockbuster headquarters. Small company, desperate. Mark Randolph and Reed Hastings had one goal: sell their struggling DVD by mail business before they went bankrupt. They pitched the Blockbuster CEO on a partnership Netflix handles online. Blockbuster dominates stores. Perfect synergy, right? Reed asked for $50 million. The Blockbuster executive literally laughed them out of the building. He thought their valuation was absurd. A joke. This tiny startup wanted real money in the middle of the dot-com crash? Think about what just happened. Blockbuster was worth $6 billion. They made $800 million annually just from late fees. Netflix was bleeding cash, shipping DVDs in prepaid envelopes, hoping customers would mail them back. But here's the key part nobody saw coming. Blockbuster's entire financial model depended on physical real estate, thousands of stores, expensive leases, massive overhead. Their biggest asset became their most catastrophic liability. Netflix had almost nothing: a warehouse, some servers, low fixed costs. When the market shifted to streaming, Blockbuster couldn't pivot fast enough. All those stores? They became financial anchors dragging the company underwater. By 2010, Blockbuster filed for bankruptcy. Netflix hit $200 billion market cap. This matters because the exact same leverage that killed Blockbuster is now threatening Netflix, just in reverse. Back then, physical infrastructure was the death trap. Today, it's content spending. Netflix commits billions to shows before knowing if anyone will watch them. Fixed costs, massive overhead. Sound familiar? When subscriber growth slows, those content commitments don't disappear. They become anchors. Here's how the financial mechanism actually works. Netflix launched their subscription model in 1999. Instead of renting individual DVDs, you paid $15.95 monthly. Keep 4 DVDs at home swap whenever you want. No late fees, no return dates. Genius, right? On day one, 90% of people who saw this offer signed up. But here's what that number hides. Subscription revenue looks predictable on paper. Recurring monthly payments, steady cash flow. Wall Street loves it. Investors get excited. Stock price climbs. The problem? Subscriptions create a hidden debt most analysts completely miss. Think about it. When you lock in subscribers at $15.95, you promise them unlimited content forever at that price. But content costs increase every year. Actor salaries go up. Production budgets inflate. Licensing fees skyrocket. You're essentially selling future content at today's prices. Netflix first discovered this trap when they partnered with Starz in 2008. They paid $20 million for streaming rights to Disney and Sony's entire libraries. Absolute steal. Fast forward. Those same rights now cost hundreds of millions. Some studios won't license to Netflix at any price. So what can you do while this financial time bomb keeps ticking? The smart money isn't panicking about streaming services. They're positioning around the inevitable correction. First, watch the content spend ratio. When a company spends more than 60% of revenue on content, they're in danger. Netflix hit 65% in 2022. Second, check the subscriber acquisition cost versus lifetime value. If it costs $100 to acquire a customer who stays 18 months at $15 a month, the math breaks down fast. Third, monitor international expansion carefully. Netflix entering 190 countries sounds impressive, but different regions have wildly different profit margins. Streaming in India generates fraction of U.S. revenue per subscriber. This isn't about fear. It's about recognizing when a business model reaches structural limits before Wall Street admits it. Now here's where it gets controversial. 2011 Ted Sarandos brings Reed Hastings a pitch. House of Cards, political drama, big budget production. The price? $100 million. Some say this move saved Netflix. Others insist it started their financial death spiral. I lean toward the second because of what that decision triggered. Here's why that $100 million matters more than you think. Netflix needed 500,000 new subscribers, staying for 2 full years, just to break even on House of Cards. That's not profit, that's covering the production cost. But the show worked. House of Cards brought in subscribers, won Emmys, made headlines. So Netflix did what any company would do. They doubled down. 2013, $2 billion on content. 2016, $6 billion. 2019, $15 billion. 2022, $17 billion. Notice the pattern? Content spending increased 750% in less than a decade. Did subscriber growth match that? Not even close. The problem compounds when you look at success rates. Netflix cancels most shows after 1 or 2 seasons. Money spent, subscribers disappointed. No long-term value built. Compare that to traditional studios. They own their content forever, sell it multiple times. Syndication, merchandise, theme parks. Netflix owns their originals, sure, but streaming rights don't have the same value as traditional distribution rights. You can't resell a show on Netflix to another Netflix. The content only has value inside your own ecosystem. This is the manifestation of a deeper issue. Netflix traded short-term subscriber growth for long-term financial sustainability. Now, mainstream financial analysts make a strong argument here. They say Netflix's content library is an appreciating asset. The more originals they make, the more valuable their catalog becomes. And honestly, they're not entirely wrong about the strategic logic. Creating IP builds long-term moats. Disney proved this over decades. Original content means negotiating leverage with competitors. But here's what that argument misses. Disney took 80 years to build their content empire. They did it profitably, slowly. Each film paid for itself before they made the next one. Netflix tried to compress 80 years of content creation into 10 years, using debt betting on infinite subscriber growth. Weimar Germany had the same logic. They printed money to solve short-term problems, assuming growth would justify the inflation later. It didn't. Netflix printed content to solve their short-term competitive problem, assuming subscribers would justify the spending later. They won't. Oh, be fair, Netflix in 2022 isn't exactly like Blockbuster in 2000. They have 220 million subscribers globally. That's real scale. They've won Oscars, changed how we consume entertainment. Their technology infrastructure is genuinely impressive. Financial analysts argue this makes collapse less likely than traditional media companies. They have a point. But, and this is critical, modern advantages create modern vulnerabilities. Speed works both ways. Blockbuster took years to lose their dominance. Store closures happened gradually. Bankruptcy was slow motion. Today's interconnected financial system could destroy Netflix much faster. One bad quarter. Subscriber loss. Stock crashes. Debt becomes expensive. Content partners demand cash upfront. Death spiral accelerates. April 2022 proved this. Netflix announced losing 200,000 subscribers, first decline in a decade. The stock dropped 35% in one day. $50 billion in market value vanished in hours. Traditional media companies losing subscribers would see gradual decline. Netflix's algorithmic recommendation system, instant global reach, and Wall Street expectations meant the reaction was brutal and immediate. The scale is staggering. According to Bloomberg, Netflix has $14 billion in long-term debt, and P Global data shows their content obligations exceed $19 billion. Financial Times reports their free cash flow turned negative in multiple quarters. This matters because you're watching the exact moment when a revolutionary business model hits its mathematical ceiling. Individual financial decisions aren't enough. The streaming industry needs fundamental reform. What would real solutions look like? First, content spending caps tied to revenue percentages. Japan implemented similar regulations in their banking sector after their 1990s bubble. Banks couldn't lend beyond certain ratios. It prevented catastrophic collapse. Second, mandatory profitability timelines. South Korea requires tech companies to demonstrate path to profit within set timeframes or face delisting. This forces realistic business planning. Third, subscriber churn transparency. Right now, Netflix reports net subscriber changes, but if they add 5 million and lose 4 million, you only see plus 1 million. Real churn rates tell a different story about business health before it's too late. These aren't radical ideas. They're lessons from the only industries that managed to pull back from similar financial precipices. The question is whether streaming companies will choose sustainable reform or continue burning cash until the inevitable collapse. But I want to hear from you. Drop a comment. Are we watching the next tech bubble burst, or am I overreacting? The data could support either. Let's debate. History doesn't repeat, but it rhymes with brutal precision. Blockbuster believed physical dominance was permanent. Kodak thought their patents protected them forever. BlackBerry promised enterprise customers guaranteed security. All of them were wrong. But here's the crucial distinction. Some companies that saw the warning signs managed to pull back. Microsoft restructured under Satya Nadella, focused on cloud, admitted Windows. Mobile failed. They survived by adapting before collapse became inevitable. Apple nearly went bankrupt in 1997, brought back Steve Jobs, cut products from 350 to 10, rebuilt from focused excellence. They survived not by denying the financial reality, but by accepting it and pivoting aggressively. The question isn't whether Netflix's model will face a reckoning. The numbers make that clear. It's whether they'll choose restructuring now or collapse later. What can you do as an investor? Watch the content-to-revenue ratio quarterly. Anything above 65% is danger territory. Monitor subscriber retention rates, not just total numbers. Growth means nothing if churn accelerates. Check debt covenants and refinancing dates. When those loans come due, can Netflix afford new terms? And systemically, force transparency in subscriber churn reporting. Real numbers, real business health. The people who survive historical market shifts aren't the optimists who ignore balance sheets or the pessimists who sell everything. They're the realists who see clearly and act accordingly. Right now, we're at a crossroads. Netflix's financial warnings are getting louder. Whether we listen determines if our portfolios survive what comes next. If this financial analysis opened your eyes to where streaming companies actually stand and what the numbers really mean, hit subscribe, because financial history has all the answers, and we're going to need them. Check the description for full sources, data analysis, and the investment strategy we discussed.